بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. الحمد لله رب العالمين، والصلاة والسلام على أشرف الأنبياء والمرسلين وحبيب إله العالمين أبي القاسم المصطفى محمد. اللهم صل على محمد وآل محمد وعلى أهل بيته الطيبين الطاهرين الهداة المهديين، واللعنة الدائمة على أعدائهم أجمعين إلى قيام يوم الدين. Respected brothers and sisters, Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. When Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala sent His messenger, Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alayhi wa alih, the Holy Prophet had certain objectives and missions that he was sent for. For example, amongst the missions, amongst the objectives for why Rasulullah was sent, the Quran tells us some of that. The Quran sheds some light on why He sent the Holy Prophet. In one verse, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala tells us that He sent not just Prophet Muhammad, but all prophets to establish justice. Every prophet is sent so that they can establish justice, social justice, political justice, justice within the community, within the family. So justice is a mission of every prophet. The Holy Quran says, لَقَدْ أَرْسَلْنَا رُسُلَنَا بِالْبَيِّنَاتِ, until the Quran says, لِيَقُومَ النَّاسُ بِالْقِسْطِ. We have sent our prophets with the miracles, with guidance, so that people can learn justice from them, so that they can establish justice. So this was one mission of Rasulullah. He was sent to establish and teach justice in the society. Another reason why Rasulullah was sent, the Quran tells us, وَمَا أَرْسَلْنَاكَ إِلَّا رَحْمَةً لِلْعَالَمِينَ. Rasulullah was sent as a mercy to humanity. How was Rasulullah a mercy to his people and to us until today? Tomorrow night I'll be speaking about that, inshallah. We will have the wafat, the anniversary of the death of Rasulullah. I will speak about that. How Rasulullah serves as a mercy for me today. How do I benefit from Rasulullah? And how is he a mercy for me 1400 years after he died? This will be my topic tomorrow night. So this is number two. Number one, justice. Number two, mercy. And number three, there is a hadith that Rasulullah is reported saying, إِنَّمَا بُعِثْتُ لِأُتَمِّمَ مَكَارِمَ الْأَخْلَاقِ. He says that I was sent by Allah so that I can complete makarim al-akhlaq, so that I can complete akhlaq, I can complete noble character. Now what does the Prophet mean by this? What he means is that before Rasulullah was sent, there was akhlaq. Akhlaq was taught. There were so many messengers before Rasulullah. There were so many prophets before Rasulullah. Rasulullah was sent to perfect and complete the entire system of akhlaq. And that's why the akhlaq that Rasulullah taught, the akhlaq that Rasulullah showed, was never seen by anyone before Rasulullah. And the Holy Prophet was able to do this, to set the bar much higher, to elevate the status, to bring akhlaq to a much higher level through two ways. Listen carefully. Number one, Rasulullah defined Islam in a very unique way. If someone asks you, what is religion? How would you reply? Right now, if any Muslim or even Christian, any person would be asked, define what religion is. How would I reply? We would hear many answers. Sometimes we would say religion is what? Is your belief in God, is your relationship between your Creator, between you and your Creator. Others may say religion is about a bunch of rituals, salah, fasting, hajj, correct, paying charity. Others may say religion is about believing in the unseen, God, the shaitan, angels, the day of judgment. There are many explanations, many definitions to religion or Islam. Rasulullah beautifully defined what religion is. There's a hadith that one day a man came to Rasulullah. He came from his right. He told him, Ya Rasulullah, Mad-Deen, what is religion? Rasulullah answered him with this beautiful answer. He told him, Ad-Deen هو حسن الخلق. Religion, you want me to define religion? Religion is having good akhlaq, is having good character. So the man thought the Prophet didn't understand the question. What do you mean have good akhlaq? I'm asking what your religion is. He was probably asking for the aqa'id, the usul al-din, furu' al-din, the beliefs, the wajibat. So he came to his left and he asked him again, Ya Rasulullah, mad-din? What is religion? Rasulullah gave him the same answer. He told him, ad-din husnul khuluq. Religion means having good akhlaq. A religious person is someone that has good akhlaq, good character. He thought the Prophet didn't understand. He stood in front of him now. He told him, Ya Rasulullah, mad-din? You're not giving me the answer that I'm looking for. Rasulullah told him once again, husnul khuluq, good akhlaq. The fourth time he went from behind him, from every angle, from every side. He told him, Ya Rasulullah, mad-din? The fourth time, the Prophet, it seems that he was frustrated with him. He told him, Ama tafqah, do you not understand what I'm saying? Ad-din an la taghdab. Religion means to never become angry, to control your anger, to control your temper, not to lose it because of a fight, because someone provoked me. Don't overreact. This is what religion is. So what we find unique about Rasulullah is that he defined Islam as being akhlaq. Akhlaq equals Islam. Islam equals akhlaq. While to many of us, what is Islam? What is someone, how do we perceive someone that is religious? Someone that prays. It's all about the rituals. Someone that has the long beard, has the masbaha in his hand, prays Salat al-Jama'ah every day, has been to Hajj 15 times, correct? And does all these rituals. Now, we don't want to belittle these rituals. These are very good. Allah wants them. They add to our spirituality. They take us closer to Allah. But this is not the pillar of Islam. This is not the core of religion. The core of religion is akhlaq, the Prophet says. And that's why if there's someone that does all these rituals, but you find that person has no akhlaq, as we say, bila akhlaq, that person does not have, for example, is not honest, is not trustworthy, is not respectful in his conduct with other individuals, is not humble, is not generous, is not patient, then this person is not a true Muslim. Because Islam, the Prophet defined as being akhlaq. And unfortunately, this is a problem that we have with many Muslims now. To them, when I want to become closer to Allah, I want to become a good Muslim, it's all about the rituals. You will find him praying Salat al-Layl, but he has the worst temper. You ask him 2-3 questions, he starts yelling. Never seen smiling, always frowning. This is not a true Muslim. A true Muslim is the one that has the best akhlaq, the one that excels in their character, in their behavior, in their conduct within the community. So this is number one. Rasulullah tried to instill and perfect and complete akhlaq and the entire system of akhlaq by changing our perspective about religion. Religion is not just rituals in the masjid, salah and siyam and dua and Quran. This is a part of religion. The core of religion, the Prophet said, husn al-khuluq. Number two, the second way was that Rasulullah exhibited and he expressed those teachings in action. Because as they say, your actions speak louder than your words. No matter how much Rasulullah would speak about being good, about being virtuous, being righteous, if he himself was not a righteous person, if he himself did not have good akhlaq, then he would not be really doing much. He would not really send that message that he wanted to get across. Rasulullah exhibited, he demonstrated the noble akhlaq through his actions, to the extent that Allah Azza wa Jal in the Holy Quran testified. Allah said about Rasulullah, وَإِنَّكَ لَعَلَى خُلُقٍ عَظِيمٍ. Indeed, you Rasulullah, you have akhlaq that is impeccable. You have akhlaq that is sublime. This is Allah attesting to someone. Imagine if Allah tells you that you have impeccable akhlaq. Does Allah exaggerate? Obviously not. So you can imagine how the akhlaq of Rasulullah was. There's a hadith, Al-Shaykh al-Saduq narrates from Al-Imam al-Hussein alayhi salam. Al-Imam al-Hussein asked his father, Amir al-Mu'mineen, tell me about the akhlaq of Rasulullah. كيف كانت سيرته في جلسائه? How did he conduct himself with his people, with his companions? Amir al-Mu'mineen gave such a beautiful khutbah, brothers and sisters. If you want to understand the akhlaq, the personality, the behavior, the character of Rasulullah, go back to that hadith of Amir al-Mu'mineen alayhi salam. It's very long, I'll just choose a few words from it. The Imam beautifully began and he said, كان رسول الله صلى الله عليه وآله وسلم دائم البشر سهل الخلق لين الجانب ليس بفظ ولا غليظ. Look at the eloquent words of Amir al-Mu'mineen alayhi salam. He said Rasulullah was دائم البشر. Rasulullah was دائم البشر. He was always seen smiling. No matter what, no matter when you would go to see Rasulullah, you see him smiling. This is a part of good akhlaq. To always smile. Even if you're having a bad day, try not to show it. Try not to burden other people with your own problems. And that's why in the khutbah of al-Muttaqeen, Amir al-Mu'mineen says that one of the traits of a believer, of a pious individual, is this: بشره في وجهه وحزنه في قلبه. A believer, a pious, a muttaqi is one that always smiles. The face is always smiling, even though the heart may be bleeding. Maybe this person is crying inside his heart, but he doesn't want to show everyone that, because other people have their own problems. So I should try my best to keep my problems to myself. So always keep a smile. This is how Rasulullah was. And then the Imam says he was so easygoing. He was so polite. He was so gentle. He was not vulgar. Even when he spoke, Rasulullah was so soft-spoken. Quran says this. The Holy Quran says, وَلَوْ كُنْتَ فَضًّا فَبِمَا رَحْمَةٍ مِّنَ اللَّهِ لِنْتَ لَهُمْ وَلَوْ كُنْتَ فَضًّا غَلِيظَ الْقَلْبِ لَانْفَضُّوا مِنْ حَوْلِكَ. Ya Rasulullah, if you were bad-tempered, if you were vulgar and disrespectful, then no one would believe in you. Even if you have the best religion, you would what? Turn people away. You would repel others because of your akhlaq. Rasulullah, it was because of his akhlaq that he kept on attracting people to Islam. Most people that came to Islam, it was because they were amazed, astonished at the akhlaq of Rasulullah. They fell in love with Rasulullah, and then they fell in love with his religion. This is how Rasulullah was. And then he says, Amir al-Mu'mineen says, وَلَا صَخَابٍ. Sakhab means even his tone. His tone was a very soft-spoken tone. It wasn't loud, obnoxious. This shows us that even with your tone, the way sometimes some people, when they speak to you, they're too loud. They don't mean any disrespect, but sometimes it could be seen as a disrespectful way. So even in his tone, Rasulullah was very careful. And then Amir al-Mu'mineen alayhi salam continues in this beautiful khutbah. He tells us some of the aspects of the Holy Prophet. He says, وَمَا كَانَ لَا عَيَّابْ وَلَا مَدَّاحْ. Rasulullah was someone who was not ayyab, meaning he would never make fun of anyone, nor did he try to flatter people. You know, there's two extremes. Some people who are too picky. Anything they see, they point it out. And there's others who try to flatter you too much. Rasulullah was in the middle. He didn't try to flatter anyone, nor was he picky, nor would he scold anyone. It's narrated that the servant of Rasulullah, he had a servant by the name of Anas ibn Malik. Anas ibn Malik is narrated to have said that I served Rasulullah for 9 years. Not once did Rasulullah yell at me. Not once did Rasulullah reprimand me. Not once did Rasulullah scold me. Can you imagine? He's serving Rasulullah for 9 years. Obviously, there are times where he's probably late. He probably messes up. He doesn't do what the Prophet wants. This is natural. You would yell at your servant. You tell him, Yalla, where are you? What's keeping you back? I told you get this. Why did you get that? He told him 9 years. Anas tells us 9 years I served Rasulullah. Not once did he ever yell at me. How many of us, brothers and sisters, can really live such a life? With our partner, with our wife, with our husband, with our children, with our co-workers, we never yell at them. We never turn them down. We never make them feel bad. This was Rasulullah. And then the Imam continues, he says about Rasulullah, 3 things the Prophet would never do. تَرَكَ النَّاسِ مِنْ ثَلَاثٍ. 3 things he would never do with the people. Number 1, كَانَ لَا يَذُمُّ أَحَدًا وَلَا يُعَيِّرُهُ. He would never criticize anyone in front of him nor behind his back. Never ever. Even if it was called for, he would never criticize anyone. Number 2, وَلَا يَطْلُبُ عَثَرَاتِهِ وَلَا عَوْرَتَهِ. He would never look and search for the faults of others. You know, there are some people in the community, they sit down, they're on Instagram and Facebook and all these social media accounts and the sahrat, just looking for rumors, other people's weaknesses, other people's flaws, other people's faults. Rasulullah would never try to find a problem within anyone, would never look at the faults of others. There's a hadith from Imam Ali where he says, طُوبَى لِمَنْ شَغَلَتْهُ عُيُوبُهُ عَنْ عُيُوبِ النَّاسِ. He says, good for the person who his own weaknesses have consumed him and preoccupied him and kept him busy from looking into other people's weaknesses. Those individuals, you've seen them in the community. They know everybody's weakness, except one individual, whom? Themselves. The Imam says, you have so many weaknesses that if you just spend time on yourself, trying to fix yourself, you won't even have time to sit and say, Fulan is this and Fulan is that. What about me? What about all the flaws that I have? So Rasulullah, number 2, would never try to find problems in other people. And then number 3, وَلَا يَتَكَلَّمْ إِلَّا فِي مَا رَجَى ثَوَابًا. And he would never speak unless there was thawab for that individual, unless there was good, unless there was benefit for that individual. Many times you see people, they come to you and they just love talking. Now, how am I benefiting from this talk? Sometimes some people vent. They tell you a very long story, right? How am I, the listener, benefiting from the story? I'm not benefiting. I'm not benefiting for my dunya, nor for my akhirah. It's just a long story, their life story, or how they have this problem or that problem, and I can't really help them. Sometimes I can help them, sometimes no, they just want to talk. The Prophet wasn't that type where he just talks and he bores you. So think before you speak. Put yourself in that person's shoe. This is a part of having good akhlaq, is not to talk too much, to the extent that sometimes we bore and annoy other individuals. And then he says, كَانَ يَضْحَكُ مِمَّا يَضْحَكُونَ وَيَتَعَجَّبْ مِمَّا يَتَعَجَّبُونَ. He says when his companions would laugh, he would laugh. When they would be surprised, he would be... Basically, he was just like one of them. He was humble. He did not make himself stand out between his ashab, to the extent that they say if you go to the masjid of Rasulullah, you see Rasulullah with his companions, you would not even know which one's Rasulullah. His dress was just like others. And even the place he sat, he had no minbar in the beginning. He would sit on the floor. Sometimes an Arabi would come, he wouldn't know which one is Muhammad, because they all look the same. This was how Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa sallam was. وَيَصْبِرُ لِلْغَرِيبِ عَلَى الْجَفْوَ فِي مَسْأَلَتِهِ وَمَنْطِقِهِ حَتَّى أَنْ كَانَ أَصْحَابُهُ لَيَسْتَجْلِبُونَهُم. He says sometimes the Prophet was so patient with other people when they used to come and take from his time, such that at times his own companions had to interfere and tell that person, Yalla, enough, bad. You're taking too much from the Prophet's time. Because the Prophet, he did not want to tell someone, Yalla, I need to go. He would sit and listen until that person would have mercy and stop talking. So his ashab would have, sometimes they would have to interfere and tell that person, Khalas, bad, let the Prophet go and sleep, let him go and relax, let him go and back to his house. This is how Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa sallam. And then he says, وَلَا يَقْطَعُ عَلَىٰ أَحَدٍ كَلَامَهُ حَتَّى يَجُوزُ فَيَقْطَعَهُ بِنَهْيٍ أَوْ قِيَامٍ. He would never interrupt anyone. You know, this is very disrespectful. When someone is speaking, to interrupt that individual. Rasulullah was never seen interrupting someone that was talking to him, except, there's only one exception, the Imam says, unless that person exceeds the boundaries of Allah. That person does something haram, starts to backbite, starts to lie, starts to fabricate, and so on. This is where Rasulullah would tell them, enough, this is haram. Only because they had what? They had committed a sin, or else Rasulullah was so patient. This was the akhlaq of Rasulullah. So basically the Imam is saying, you want to know who Rasulullah was? He was the nicest person you can ever imagine. He was so low to the ground. He was so humble. He was so polite and respectful. He wasn't high maintenance. Some people, they're so sensitive. They take everything personally. They make a big issue out of the smallest things. This was not Rasulullah. They say a man came, an Arabi, a Bedouin came to the masjid of Rasulullah the first time. He's a Bedouin, he lives in the desert. He went to a corner and he urinated. He urinated. Some of the ashab got up, they wanted to beat him. Rasulullah right away told them, why? Leave him alone. He doesn't know any better. That's how he grew up. Take some water and go purify it. What's the big deal? Sometimes we make a big deal out of something that can easily be solved. This was the akhlaq of Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa. And that's why people were attracted to him, to his religion. That's why the people began to join Islam by the thousands, as the Quran says. وَرَأَيْتَ النَّاسَ يَدْخُلُونَ فِي دِينِ اللَّهِ أَفْوَاجًا. People began to flock to Islam. Why? Because of the akhlaq of Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa sallam. Now, brothers and sisters, 1400 years later, if you want to do a service to Rasulullah, to the religion of Rasulullah, the best way is to do exactly as Rasulullah did. Follow in his footsteps by learning from the akhlaq of Rasulullah. Because this is the best propagation that you can do for Islam. This is the best da'wah you can do for Islam. The best way for you to invite others to Islam is by what? Is by learning from the akhlaq of Rasulullah. Because when people see our akhlaq, we are honest, respectful, polite, we are loyal, we are trustworthy, people will say this religion is a good religion. And that's why the Imams would always tell us, كُونُوا دُعَاةً بِغَيْرِ أَلْسِنَتِكُمْ. So if there's one message, brothers and sisters, that we, the followers of Prophet Muhammad, want to learn on the anniversary of his shahada, of his death, let us try to learn some of the akhlaq of Rasulullah. And by doing that, not only are we serving ourselves by having good akhlaq, Allah Azza wa Jal will obviously compensate you and reward you. This is the greatest service that you will do for Islam, because people are always attracted to individuals that have good akhlaq. We ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to grant us the ability, the tawfiq, that we can follow in the footsteps of our dear messenger Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa alihi, and we ask him to grant us his shafa'ah on the day of judgment. هذا وآخر دعوانا أن الحمد لله رب العالمين وصلى الله على محمد وآله الطاهرين.